Hello and welcome to the Crochet Circle podcast. This is episode 29 and it's called All the Dubs. My name is Faye and this is my monthly podcast. Lots of you know that, but I keep on forgetting to introduce myself. So just in case you're new to the podcast, I'm Faye. We go out monthly and there are slides and information in all of the show notes so you can find where I am, but I'm most active on Instagram and also on Ravelry, though I still need to catch up on Ravelry. I think it might be one of them. It's been quite a full-on month and I think maybe my brain is going faster than my tongue can keep up with. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm waving and there's a hell of a lot less bingoing going on because I've been working really hard and I've just finished doing Wonderwool Wales, which is why the show is called All the Dubs, because everything that I've been doing seems to have a W in it. But yes, my muscles are considerably developed from all the antics that I've been up to. I've got quite large guns at the moment. I hope you're all well. It feels like it's been a very long month since I last podcasted and it has been exceptionally busy. So this one's probably a little light on the actual crochet content because I just haven't had personal crafting time. So if this is your first time with me, usually I have a lot of crochet content and I don't have as much this month just because of the number of shows I've got coming forward at the moment, which really have to take priority. But yeah, I've still got quite a lot of content to take you through. So first up, I wanted to talk about Wonderwool Wales, All the Dubs. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but I've been told that in Australia, instead of when you're relaying what a website is, and instead of saying www dot, they just say all the dubs and then whatever the address is, which seems far more sensible to me. So Wonderwool Wales is All the Dubs and it was fantastic. If you don't know what it is, it's a wool festival that happens in the middle of Wales every April. It's my second year of ending at it and it's a proper sheepy wool festival. They had little mohair kid goats there as well that were just beautiful, and over 200, I think it was about 225 different vendors. So it's a massive festival and it's run over 2 days. It's usually the Saturday and Sunday, roughly on the last weekend of April, unless Easter gets in the way. And it's my favourite festival for lots of different reasons, and I know quite a few new people went to it this year because of my recommendation and they really enjoyed it. It's great fun, it has amazing food and really good vendors. So if you're multi-craftual, there's lots of crochet content, knitting, spinning, weaving, textiles, lots of woolen fashion as well, really nice stuff. And it's just a good, fun, lovely, friendly atmosphere, and it's in beautiful Welsh countryside as well. You kind of couldn't help for more. It's well worth going there for the weekend. And if you're thinking about going to it next year, book your accommodation up early. It's a little like Yarndale in that accommodation goes very quickly and there isn't that much accommodation available in and around the town of both Wells, so you have to get there rapidly. It's really cool to see people were coming over from Norway. I had people on the stand from Berlin. There was a party of ladies that had come over from America for it, and that really pleases me because some of the other British-based festivals get a lot more hype on social media than Wonderwool Wales does, but for my money Wonderwool Wales is the best festival we've got in the UK, in part because it's properly sheepy. It's set in 3 cattle mart sheds, but it's really nicely laid out and it's very flat and it's just a lovely festival. So if you've previously thought about it and you've not yet made it, go along to Wonderful Wales. One, it's a bit of a mouthful, and two, it's just great fun. You'll love it. So I've been having a fab old time there, but and I'm sure you've heard lots of podcasters who also have companies like I do speak in the past about the amount of effort it takes to get to a show and to vend at it. And so I've spent pretty much the last 3 weeks getting ready for that festival. And when I say 3 weeks, what I mean is working like 12 to 16 hour days every day for at least 2 weeks. I had one day off. And I wouldn't change it. I really love it. I love the feeling and the empowerment that I get from getting all of my stock together and taking it to a show and knowing that you've nailed certain things and you've brought the right stock and the right levels of stock as well. Yeah, and only good things ever come out of doing a show like that. Something really cool has happened that I can't share with you for a month or so, but as soon as I can, I will let you know. But it's very, very exciting for me. It's really exciting for me and great news for my company as well. So yeah, I've had a ball over the last few weeks, but I've not done any personal crafting because of it, but I'll make up for it. I'm at another show on the 12th and 13th of May, which is Woolwich Junction 13, which is just off the M6. It's at Penkridge, which is Junction 13 of the M6. And I'm there the weekend after this podcast goes live. So all of the prep that I've been doing, I've been actually trying to double up and make all of my preparations for Wonderful Wales and Woolwich Junction 13, which is why you haven't seen me on the radar, haven't really been on Instagram, haven't been on Ravelry, because I've just had to be doing show prep. And I'm finally over it. I spoke to my best friend Jenny earlier and said, I think that the real Faye has been abducted by aliens, because this version of Faye, before she unloaded the van from Wonderful Wales, cleaned the office floor, hoovered it, washed it, put stuff away, has done all the stock taking already back in from the show, and has been updating the website with all the new stock numbers. Usually that can take me months to do that, and I've done it already, and today's Tuesday after the show. So somewhere out there in the universe is the real Faye, and this imposter is really, really organised and got all her shiz together basically. So yeah, let's see what Imposter Faye does with the podcast today. Because I've been so full on with the show prep, one of the things I haven't yet done is drawn any winners for the different designer cal that finished. So apologies for that. I just thought it got so late in the day that I thought I'll just wait and do it live on the podcast instead. So we had a load of amazing entries into the different designer cal, lots of people trying new to them designers. There's a lot of stuff in the FO thread and in the chatter thread as well. And if you went to the hashtag on Instagram, different designer cal, there's lots of beautiful projects in there. So what I was going to do was draw a prize for one from Ravelry and one for Instagram. So on Ravelry we had 44 finished objects. So I'm going to generate a number between 1 and 44 and tell you, I'll do a little wibbly wobbly time lapse thing and tell you who the winner was from Ravelry, and then I'll do the same for Instagram. So between 1 and 44, number 38 is our Ravelry winner. Let me just note that down. And on Instagram we had 29 different people. So again, I'll do it between 1 and 29. And we have got number 15. Right. Future Faye is about to tell you who the winners were. Hello. This is Future Faye, and Future Faye has just been on Ravelry and just been on Instagram and picked the two winners. So number 38 was Emmy Warner, who is from Bucks in England. Well done, Emmy. You are one of the winners. And the second one is Caroline, who I saw at the weekend, who is, she lives in Wales. So thank you. You'll hear a little bit about Caroline later on, because she gave me some lovely things at Wonderful Wales. So well done, Caroline. Now, what you guys win is, what I've done is made it a bit of a Fjord Fibres booty prize. And what I'll do is get in touch with both winners at the same time and offer you up both the same prizes, and whoever comes back first gets their first choice. But basically it is a skein of Gilly's yarn, which you all know that I absolutely adore, and this colourway is called Lakeside Walk, and it's really beautiful, subtle kind of spring greens and light blues in with the cream, and a little bit of a peachy brown in there as well. And again, you'll hear me talking about this yarn in a little bit because I'm working on a pair of socks in it. So you win that from Gilly, and the other person will win one of Gilly's really gorgeous little bucket bags. I have one of these, and they're just fantastic. They kind of take 3 skein projects. You can squish a 4 skein in there. I did with a jumper because it's got a drawstring top to it, which works really nicely. Very, very beautifully made bag, and I particularly love her little Norwegian ribbon that goes on the side of it. So you 2 lucky ladies will win that from Gilly, and I will also pop in some little bits of stationery that I just come across. I can't help but buy stationery, and I've got so much of it that what I do is pop every now and then when I come across some nice stuff, I pop it in the podcast prize box and just keep on topping it up every now and then. So lucky winners, I will be getting in touch with you, and then just come back to me with what your preference is, amazing bag or amazing wool, and I'll get them sent out to you. But congratulations to the winners and also everybody else that took part. It was lovely to see so many different designers, because you do kind of get stuck and we see the same names time and time again. So it was lovely to see some different designer names popping up in that thread. Yeah, excellent. And the next Cal, I will come to that in quick news beats at the end of the podcast, but I'll give you an update on what the next Cal is and when I'm going to kick it off, because there's a little bit of a change around that I've done. Well done, Emmy, well done, Caroline, and thank you everyone for taking part in the crochet along. I'm going to shunt along into Final Destination. I couldn't really remember where we was at last time round with my crocheted loft shawls, because I know I had done one, and when I looked back on the show notes, I think I was partway through the copper one, which is now completely finished and was on my stand at Wonderful Wales and was much admired, as was the teal one which John and Juliet took onto their stand. That's John and Juliet Arbin. So that was a finished object, and that will always be on my stand whenever I do a show throughout the year. This will definitely come with me and take pride of place on Claude, my mannequin, in part because he's got copper on him and beautiful copper coloured silk at the top of his neck, so he looks very well with a copper loft shawl on him. And the other thing that I finished was the knitted version, which I also did in the copper colourway, but starting with the darkest and coming down through the Knit by Numbers range. Both of them have been done in the 4-ply, which is 400 metres per 100 grams, and it's 100% merino. It's beautiful to work with, and it is so soft, it's ridiculous. It's weird because when I haven't used it for a while and then I come back to it, I just end up thinking, why do I not use this for every single project? Because it's like there's a little thread of cloud and that's what you're working with. It is absolutely beautiful to work with. I really enjoyed working on both of them, the knitted and the crochet. I definitely preferred the crochet because there's a lot of purling with a 4-ply shawl that is 3 skeins. A lot. I don't really enjoy doing pearls when I'm knitting things, but I just had to crack on with it because I had a deadline that I'd given myself of doing it for the show last weekend so that they could have it on their stand. So I'll insert pictures of both of the copper ones, the knitted and the crocheted one, and the knitted pattern is now up on Ravelry. I say now, it's not yet, but Future Faye is going to put it up, and by the time you see or hear this, Future Faye will have put knitted loft up on Ravelry, and it will be there if anybody wants that version instead. It was odd. I finally finished it, and it was quite a long shawl. It's not just quite as deep as the crocheted version. And I'd finished it late at night. Matthew had already gone to bed, and we woke up the next morning, and he said, "Oh, did you manage to get it finished?" I was like, "Yeah, but I'm really not happy with it. I think I'm going to have to completely change the construction, start again. I'm not happy with the length of it. I'm not happy with the depth of it. It's just ridiculous. I don't know what I'm doing thinking that I can do design work. It's just stupid. I should just give up." And he was like talking me off the cliff saying, "Have you blocked it?" "Well, no, not yet." "Well, you do remember that everything changes with blocking." "Yes, I know, but this isn't going to change. I just don't like it. I'm going to have to do it all again." I've been such a drama queen. And he was like, "See how you feel about it after you've blocked it, because remember how much you love things after you block them." And I blocked it. And 2 days later it was dry, and he was like, "Do you like it?" And I was like, "Oh, I love it." It's one of my favourite things I've ever designed. Utterly ridiculous. I can go from thinking that something is so completely worthless and I should never show it to anybody because it's awful, to then really loving it because actually once you've designed it up and tried it on and tried it lots of different ways, then you actually see the value and the beauty in it. But I was all for throwing it away. I was so unhappy with it. And then a good old wet blocking, and suddenly it came to life and was exactly the shawl that I had envisioned it would be when I was making it. Make up your own minds, tell me what you think about it. It's a really lovely long shawl, so you can wear it like you do a pashmina, where you double it over and thread it through the loop, which is one of the ways I really like wearing larger shawl and pashmina projects, and you can do that with it and get a beautiful diagonal down the front. Looked really nice on the mannequin at the show, so I ended up being very chuffed with it. And yeah, John and Juliet seemed to like it as well, so not so bad really. I just need to remember everything looks better after wet blocking, absolutely everything, and not getting such a tiz about my own designs. It's a very personal thing to put yourself out there. I know that if you're a fan of Clarissa Bith's podcast from Crochet Cakes, then you know that she's been having a bit of a wobble about putting herself out there, and it is something that's really difficult to do, and you're kind of putting all of your emotions and your heart and your creativity out for other people to have feedback on, and that's really difficult to do. And what I have to keep on reminding myself is not everybody's going to like what I do, and that's perfectly acceptable. I put out what I put out, and some people will respond to it and some people won't, but yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. And for all of you creatives out there, you still have to just keep on doing it, because you have to keep on pushing yourself out, and you have to get your stuff seen and known, and it won't be for everyone, but the people that like it will really, really like it. And yeah, just keep on going. And I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you guys. It's a really difficult thing to do. Nobody likes to get negative feedback. Nobody likes to think they might get negative feedback, and yet you still have to keep on pushing yourself out there. My other finished object, I've been working on another sock design. You've heard me talk about these already. They're my Mini Mania socks, and they use a set of minis from River Knits. And what I've been working on is a pattern that would allow you to use a set of 5 core mini colours and then 2 contrast colours for the heels and toes. That would actually allow you to get 2 pairs of socks out of 7 20-gram mini skeins. And so what I've done is made essentially a pair of his and her Mini Mania socks. So Matthew's, I offered him up the purple contrast ones and he said, no thank you. And then I said, well, how about if you had the ones that had a very dark jade colour? And he was like, oh yeah, I like them, I would wear them. I don't think he'd wear them at the house where anybody could see his socks, but he will definitely wear them in the house. He has a little thing going on for knitted socks these days. And I'm almost there with the pattern, but I need to remake the 2 pairs of socks again before I know beyond a shadow of doubt what is feasible for making 2 pairs of socks out of 140 grams of mini skeins. So I've got a bit more work to do on these before I get the pattern ready to go, but I'm so pleased with the way that the stripes worked out. I mean, these are quite bright and loud. The 5 core colours that I've used are greens going through from quite a light minty green into a jade and everything in between, paired with a bright pinky kind of fuchsia pinky purple for my pair, and then Matthew's pair have got that dark jade that I was talking through. So yeah, they wouldn't be my normal go-to socks, but they're within my colour range, but they're quite full-on socks, but I love them. And if you've got minis, then you may as well make a statement with them. So when I go through Feeding the Habit, I'll show you the next set of minis that I've got to make the next 2 pairs of socks, which will be the ones that aren't allowed to be worn, because they will go onto my stand and be display socks for the pattern. But what that does mean is that we get to wear these stripy fellows shortly. Well, actually, probably tomorrow. So that's another finished object that I've got, in that I've now finished the 2 pairs of socks that go with that pattern, and it puts me much further forward with understanding what's feasible with it, which is great. I heard one word, I was being referred to as one word repeatedly over the weekend, and that word was thorough. And I think that totally applies with most of the things that I do in my life. I do a thorough job on almost everything. I grew up with the maxim from my mum, which was, if a job is worth doing, it's worth doing properly. You never do something by halves. Either don't attempt it or do it to as well as you can do it. And that's clearly really stuck with me, because everything I attempt is done in a very thorough manner. Right, and then my final destination was the Wonder Wheel stuff. I pulled together so many new lines for doing that show and for Wool at Junction 13. I've done a load more embroidery kits, and one of them, oh, they're so cool. They are mandalas that I've had printed up on bags, and then you can embroider in using one of 5 different colour combinations. You can embroider in the mandalas. They were really popular at Wonder Wool, and I'm having to have more embroidered up ready for Wool at Junction 13. I had more project bags pulled in. I did another embroidery kit with flowers to complement the animal ones that I do. There was just so much stuff going on, and loads of new stuff that I brought forward. So if you wanted to see what's going on that side, the best thing to do is follow me on Instagram for the company, which the Instagram handle is @knitithookit. Because over the next week from you getting this podcast, I will be uploading all of the new stock onto the website, and there are some really cool things that I've been pulling in from here, there and everywhere, but mainly the UK. Right, that is it for Final Destination. That's everything that has been going on in my world that is a finished object and kind of being worn and being used, and you know where it's all gone to. So I have just a couple of en routes to show you, which are my works in progress. The first, the one that I won't show you is the Stowborough shawl that I'm working on, which is Sarah Hazel's pattern. Because I haven't made any progress with it whatsoever, and so I couldn't see the point in coming in and showing you something that hasn't moved any further from last month. It will do during this weekend because Matthew is off walking with his friend. He's heading up to Scotland for a walking weekend, so I will have the house to myself and lots of crafting time. I'm going to try and just kind of pull myself back down from the show event and have a bit of a chill out weekend before I go into the prep for Woolwich Junction 13 next week. So yeah, I won't show you that one, but what I can show you, because it relates to the fact that Matthew is going walking, is the next pair of socks that I've been working on for him. And I'd quite like to get them done for him so he can test them out next weekend in his walking boots. Matthew has well and truly come round to the way of understanding and loving hand knitted socks. And I showed this yarn off, I think it was in the last podcast. I got it from Gilly at Fjord Fibres, because this is now my absolute go-to sock yarn. I really love it. It's great if what you want is a proper pair of woolly socks, knitted or crocheted. If you want that thickness, because what you want is warmth rather than stitch definition, laciness, then this is the most amazing yarn. And I got Matthew two colours, a dark petrol bluey colour, which is called Night Storm, and I'm doing contrast heels and toes in a lovely mid-green, which is, it's quite a muted green, which is called Boreal Forest. And he really likes these colours. He's very chuffed and keeps on saying, "Are they nearly done?" And I keep on saying, "You're not getting them, I'm keeping them," because they're just such lovely socks. I'm really liking the way that they are working up. And the reason I'm now rushing these through is less so about the fact that he's going walking this weekend, but in mid-June, as close to the longest days we can get it, he and our nephew Lewis are going to do the 3 Peaks Challenge, which I'm sure some of you have heard of and many of you haven't heard of, but they have 48 hours to climb the 3 highest peaks within the UK. So they will start at Ben Nevis in Scotland, climb Ben Nevis, which is, yeah, I wrote it down. Ben Nevis is 1,345 metres above sea level. And then they have to come off that mountain, drive into Cumbria in the northwest of England, and climb up Scafell Pike, which is 978 metres above sea level, come back down that mountain, drive into North Wales, and climb up Snowdon, which is 1,085 metres above sea level. So it's no mean feat, it's quite a massive undertaking. I would love to be able to do it with them, and I can't. My legs just, I can't climb, I can barely get upstairs most of the time, and so there's no way that I can do that. But I am very kind of operationally and logistics minded. So what's actually happening is they do all of the climbs and I am their support team. So I'll be doing all of the driving, all of the cooking, making sure that they can get washed and changed when they get off one mountain so that they can then sleep in the car, and they're ready to go when we get to the next mountain, and I drive them from one location to the next, to the next, to the next. And so what I want is for Matthew to test out these socks this weekend when he's going up to Scotland on his test walk. Make sure he's happy with them, that his feet aren't too hot, and that the socks are good for him and that they wick away enough moisture. And then I will, if they work for him and they're good, I will make him another 2 pairs ahead of him going and doing the 3 Peaks challenge. And which means that when he comes off of Nevis, he can wash and get changed into a fresh pair of walking socks and wear them up the next mountain and do that over 3 times. And if I can, I will do the same for my nephew Lewis as well, because he's, you know, he's craft worthy, he's a good lad, and I'm really proud of the fact that a 20-year-old is willing to go up and do a 3 Peaks challenge with his uncle, and that they'll do it. Lewis is very physically fit, he's a rugby player, so he won't have any issues with it. And Matthew and I throughout the month of May are doing a dry month, so no alcohol, and we're also going to be doing a bit of a fitness regime, so I will buddy him along for getting fitter, ready to do the 3 Peaks challenge, which is no bad thing for me anyway. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it and being part of the kind of the support team for getting them up the mountains and making sure they're fed, watered, happy and able to travel from one place to the next. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I've got to get I've got to pull my socks up and get on with my sock knitting for Matthew to make sure that he's got good socks for his journey up the mountains. Hats off to those guys, because it's a massive challenge to do what they're going to do. I'm really proud of the fact that they're even going to attempt it. If you are in the market for some really lovely warm sock yarn, I honestly have not had anything nicer than Gilly's Fjord Fibres. It's just the warmest yarn I have ever had on my feet, to the point that if all I want is warm feet, I will only buy this sock yarn now. If I want something that it's going to be like a summer sock that's pretty and got lace or cabling or something up it, although I think that these would still be amazing for cabling, less so for lace, then maybe I would go for something which is more of a standard merino that you get these days. But actually, if you just want warm feet, this stuff is the best that I have come across. I love it. It's very nice to knit with as well. And her colours are just beautiful. And that is being kept in, as I said it would, in my lovely crochet cakes bag that Clarissa gave me. And I turned it inside out because it's currently got Matthew's socks in it. So he's got the Star Wars print, which he was loving. He thought it was very appropriate that he had his own little project bag for his own socks being knitted. So yeah, happy boy there. So that's one of my main works in progress. And the other thing that I have en route is a second version of Loft Knitted, because what happens is when I make a design, especially if I've done it for another company, then more often than not that I need to do it twice, especially where I can sell the pattern as well. And so I have a little mini shawl where I am working on the grape version of the knitted loft shawl. So I've got quite a lot of work to do in this, a huge amount of hours still ahead of me, but I'm really loving how these purples are working together. This is a new set of colours that came out from John Arbon Textiles. I think it was about a year ago now, and really lovely soft purple, grapey purple colours. And yeah, so I'll be cracking on with that. I definitely won't have it as a final destination object next month, because I've just got lots of other things that I want to be working on, and there's no big rush on this one. And after Woolwich Junction 13, I've got until August before my next event, so I don't, yeah, it's not going to be done in a week and a half's time. So the reality is I don't have to have it done until the end of July, which is fine. Only you guys know. Nobody else knows it should be there on the stand already. Feeding the habit. Now, what I should be showing you is a load of wool from Iceland that my dad has brought me back, because he was meant to be coming down today, but he's ill, unfortunately, and so he's not coming down, which is sad, but as he said, I'm more concerned about the fact that I've got to wait another month before I get my wool. That's not true. It would have been lovely to have seen my dad today and tomorrow, but yeah, he's too ill to come down. He was due to go to a Gomez gig with Matthew, because those two quite often go and watch live music together. I don't get invited. They've got a total bromance going on together, and me and my mum would just get sidelined, and those two go off into the sunset holding hands, and go and listen to live music wherever they can. But because he's ill, I'm going to the gig tonight instead. But I can't show you lots of Icelandic wool, so I'll be showing you that probably in the next podcast, I would have thought. It doesn't stop me having lots of other stuff to show you though. First up, just because I'll come back to it, the next set of colours that I've got that will be the socks are a little tamer than the greens that I've done, and it's the next set of minis from River Knits, and what we're looking at is quite a dark purple colour and moving into a purpley brown colour, a muted dark green, a muted mid green, and then quite a light forest green colour. It's very difficult to describe these colours, and on face value it might not look like they all go together, but actually when you start working with the colours, and that's the beauty of the minis that Becky does, is it doesn't really matter. They do all pull together pretty much. You have to try really hard to make something that doesn't go with her colours. And then the contrast colours that I'm doing for that, for my one, it's a light purpley pink colour, which again sounds disgusting, but it's only when you see them all together and you see the contrast heel and toe together that you go, oh, actually, because they're all of the same kind of depth of colour gradient, it works really nicely. And then for the kind of more masculine colour, I've used the same dark jade that I used in the green version. And again, they all just pull in together really very nicely. But like I say, on face value, you look at them and you go, what? But when you've knitted just 5 stripes of each of the colours, they just all pull together and they look fab. And the other thing that I find is I'm more willing to wear a lot of the colours that I wouldn't necessarily put up near my face. I'll put the crazy colours in my socks quite happily. So I will go out of my normal comfort zone to have really funky socks. And what actually happens is I go to Becky and I say, I need 5 more colours and 2 contrasts, please help. And she helps to pull them together for me, so we have a little colour collaboration that goes on. So that's my next set of 5, all ready for the hopefully the final version, because honestly these will become pairs 5 and 6, and I'm loving this pattern. I love how it works up, but like, come on, you can be too thorough. I'm ready to not have to knit these socks again. But maybe next podcast they'll be finished and I'll be able to show you those off. The other thing that I managed to get when I was at Underwool Wales was a collaboration that Becky, River Knits, had done with Sarah from Mama Longlegs. And they have done, I'm sure it's Mama Longlegs, but on the thing it says Baby Longlegs. I think Baby Longlegs is maybe her dyeing company, but she is called Mama Longlegs. And they had a dye day together, and it was really nicely brought to everybody on Instagram, where they just collaborated and came up with some new dye techniques together and had a really lovely time dyeing up. And the one that I wanted, they went to their local crafting group, which is I think in Loughborough, and a few of them had wine, and they got to choose the names of the colourways. And so, of course, because women wine crafting, some of them were slightly rude. The one that I got is called Wood. So I got Wood. And it's beautiful, every green going. And it's the forest. It's, you know, when on a summer's day, when the sun is shining and you look up through the canopy of a deciduous forest and the light is coming through the larger leaves, and you've got the kind of jadey colours of the underside of some of the tree leaves, and you've got the bright kind of chlorophyll colours going through. That's what this skein is. It has a little bit of every colour of green in there, light to dark, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's very soft as well, and it's kind of like a DK weight, so it's 275 meters for the 100 grams. It's quite a light DK. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it was a bit of a one-off collaboration yarn, and I really loved all the greens, so I'll find something special to do with it. But it's really lovely, and it's British Blueface Leicester, 100% British Blueface Leicester, so it deserves to be something special. I'm just not sure what that special is yet. I'll mull this one over. But it was one of those, don't need it, but I want it. The other thing that I've got is some South Down fleece. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that the day off that I did have in the middle of Wonderwool prep, I actually went and did a day of spinning on a wheel, not on a drop spindle. I have a spinning wheel and I deliberately haven't tinkered with it. I got it about 3 months ago and I haven't touched it because I was waiting for this spinning day and I didn't want to pick up bad habits. And actually what I have discovered, if anybody's thinking about getting a spinning wheel, I thoroughly recommend going to your local guild. I'm a member of the Alsager Spinner Weavers Dyers Guild. Go to your local guild and try out as many wheels as you can, or go to a yarn festival like Wonderwool Wales, where you know that it's a proper sheepy festival and you will get to try out different wheels. Because the one that I've got, albeit wasn't expensive and I'll be able to sell it, just isn't suitable for me. I have 33-inch legs, and the wheel that I've got is a double drive belt, and it sits you at an angle and the pull is to the left, and so my whole body is twisted, and the way that the wheel is set up, even, you know, with different chairs, it's just not right for the length of my legs, and the wheel is too far away from me for my upper body. So I have my eye on another wheel that somebody might be selling that I've tested out as well. And South Down is one of the breeds I need to do for Louise Scully Knit British's wool exploration. I think it's the August one, so I'm well ahead of this. But I figured if it's August, then I have got time to actually spin the South Down fleece before I knit and crochet with it, and I've got 100 grams to go at. On the spinning day, it took me all day to spin 50 grams, so I'm going to have to speed up, but I really enjoyed it. If you haven't tried it and it's something that you're thinking about, give it a whirl. It was the most meditative craft I have ever done, because there's a real rhythm to it, and you have to have that rhythm, and you have to think, but not too deeply, and it just allowed me to really slow my brain down, because like I said, I was doing kind of 12 to 16 hour days every day in the lead up to it, and on that day off it was just what I needed. It was just a like, and relax. I was in a really lovely room filled with wonderful ladies, lots of tea and cake and chat, and it was really nice. So yeah, spinning is definitely on my agenda. That reignited my fire for it. But I need to sort my wheel out. I need to sell the one that I've got, and I need to get one that I really love. And at the moment I'm I'm moving towards an Ashford Traveller. That's what I'm looking at. Second hand, definitely. So yeah, at some point I will be showing off what I have spun with the South Down ready as part of the wool exploration. The other thing that I have received is, some of you may be aware that Claudia from Crochet Luna podcast has been doing some new pin badges. She's got a new navy one which says crochet friends are the best of friends, and so she sent me one of those. I already had her crochet sisters yarn lover one, the pink one, and there was a yellow one which never quite made it to production, but I've got one. It's a bit of a special one. So I have added them into my collection bag. That sits beside one that Clarissa Bith gave me, my Keep Calm and Carry Yarn badge, and my sadly no longer vending Brit Yarn one. Some of you may have heard me talk about Brit Yarn as an online shop, and Isla has closed the shop down, unfortunately, so Brit Yarn is no longer up and running, but I thought it very appropriate to pop my badge on there. For those of you that are UK or European based and have looked at Claudia's pins, I'm actually about to start stocking them. I had them available at Wonderwool Wales. They will be available at Woolwich Junction 13, and I will have them in my shop, not just as this podcast goes live, but probably the week after. So if you wanted one and you didn't want to pay for the US shipping, which it is horrendous, Claudia and I have come up with this great plan that she'll send them over to me and I'll sell them in my shop, so your shipping will be an awful lot less. So that was another thing that came to me. And then I've been doing some new bags. This one isn't finished. I haven't done the metal work on it yet, but I've pulled together some new bags which used waxed cotton, which means you can put them on the floor, you can put them wherever you want to put them. They've got a space for a handle, and they've got the Harris tweed that I picked out when I was on the islands last summer, and Claudia's seen these and said, I want one, I want one, I want one, when are they going up? And so what I suggested was that we did a bag swap. Claudia was on it, way more like on it than I was, and my bag was ready and waiting for me when I came back after the weekend. She said, which one do you want? I was like, cactus. I am all about the cactus. So I have a brand new cactus bag which has got bright, amazing corally orange on the bottom, and these cool as cacti up on the top with a drawstring and a handle, and I love it. And she also sent me some peanut brittle, which may have been eaten already. Matthew spied it in the fridge and started munching on it, and I finished it off this morning because it's amazing. So this is our bag swap. I've got Claudia's cactus one, and she's getting one of my pink tweedy ones in return. I love a good project bag. I didn't see the appeal, could not understand what everybody was going on about, and now I really love it when my project bags match everything else that I've got going on and they are colour coordinated. It makes me very happy. I can't decide whether that's sad or not, but it does make me feel more positively about a project. Even better if the crochet hook colour also matches the colour of my yarn. That's maybe a step too far. One of the other things that I got at Wonderwool Wales was a new crochet hook, but it's a new old crochet hook. At wool gathering last week, I sat beside Maria, and she had a beautiful old bone crochet hook, and I asked her where she got it from. And what happens is when she goes to France, if she sees any little village markets on, she says that quite often what happens is that like an old farmhouse will have been cleared out, and she comes across bone crochet hooks are no money at all. I hadn't seen a bone one before. The reality is I had, but for some reason I just assumed it was one of those kind of 1970s plastic ones. And there's a lady that does quite a few of the yarn shows in the UK. I don't know where she gets her stock from, but they are amazing. And she always has beautiful antique crafting finds, beautiful old boxes, blankets, crochet hooks, sewing cases, you name it. Eliza Conway has it on her stand. And so I thought I would pick myself up a bone crochet hook, and that was £4.50. I think it's a 4mm. And I will use it. It's very tactile, it's lovely, and you can see where it's been used over the years. But actually I just thought it would be really beautiful in some of my photos. It's a nice prop as well as a nice tool. So I'll keep my eye out on that. There were some really beautiful double-ended ones as well that I think were 2 different sizes for each end. So, but the ones that she had they were a bit cracked and the nib off the top was missing. So I'll keep an eye out for her next time. She will be at Yarndale. I'll look for her there. And then I mentioned her earlier because she's one of our different designer Cal winners. Caroline lives in Wales, and I met her for the first time at Wonderful Wales last time. And she brought me a lovely bunch of goodies to the stand at the weekend. She said, it's not to mention on the podcast, but I want to be able to show it off because what she's given me was lovely, and she gave it to me as a thank you for the podcast. And I had lots of lovely feedback during the weekend of people appreciating what it is that I do and the time and effort that I put into it. And yeah, if I can just say that I love doing this podcast. I love the sense of community. I love the idea that we're all learning new skills together, and that seems to be what most people get from it. Upskilling themselves together as part of a community, and the lovely bunch of folk that we've got that communicate with each other all the time because of crochet and because of crafting. And that makes me really happy, and it's why I do the podcast. I love it. So, you know, stuff like this is never expected, but it's a really lovely thing when I get it. And the cakes that people bring me, like Lindsay and Annabelle. I had lots of lovely people that knew I was on my own on the Sunday were like repeatedly going around saying, do you need a coffee yet? Do you need a loo break? Do you need any food? Everybody was looking after me. It was really nice. On the Saturday, Beck was there working on the stand with me, and she had a ball. She had great fun vending and being part of the kind of entertainment and theatre of it. If you ever see me at an event, then what you see on this podcast is what you get at an event, where you will get kind of personality and positivity thrown at you if you come onto my stand. You won't get somebody slumped in a corner not really wanting to engage with you. And Beck was the same. She really enjoyed it. So what Caroline gave me was some tulle, which is twine, which is made in Dartmoor. It's actually spun by John Arbin. And it's a really amazing deep purpley pink colour, almost like a raspberry. And I'm actually thinking that I might use this as part of my stand in some way, because I have to hang lots of things in different ways, and I've got lots of different bits and pieces that people have given me that actually end up being part of my stand aesthetics. And I'm thinking that tulle is going to become part of my stand, whether it becomes flowers or something that I'll hang up, but I think that's what will happen with it. And the other thing that she gave me is some Paul Dorset yarn, which comes from the Kenixton flock. I've been following the lady that is the shepherdess of this flock for about 2 years now on Instagram. It's really lovely to see. And it's down as a 4-ply, but I would actually say it's more like a DK to a sport weight. It's 270 metres to the 100 grams. And it's a small award-winning flock of pedigree Paul Dorset sheep. And it's called Living the Dream in the Vale of Glamorgan, South Wales. And it says, wool from the Paul Dorset is a superior natural fibre thanks to a special combination of bulk, resilience, softness and warmth, free from kemp and grey fibres, and is remarkably white and is ideal for dyeing, which I can tell you is because it has been dyed a lovely muted raspberry pink, and it just looks lovely, and it's got proper bounce to it. It feels not dissimilar to Tanya TG Frog's Shorelines and Strata in that it's got some character about it. It's bounce, it's got a lovely twist. It's just a really nice, you know it's there kind of a yarn, and it's soft. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with this. I was wondering whether it might marry in with the two colours that I was given by Rachel, which were from the Lana Rara shop, which is over in Switzerland. I think it might go really well with them because it's got those muted tones to it. So I'm looking forward to using this. And again, Paul Dorset is one of the breeds which is on the wool exploration list. So yeah, I might end up using this one as part of my sample as well. Although I'm using totally undyed stuff for my crochet blanket, but I have used some dye ones in my knitted sample squares. It doesn't smell sheepy, but I think it would have done. What does smell sheepy is the South Down fleece. It's got that sweet, nutty grassiness about it. I can't help it. You have to sniff. Like, the tulle doesn't smell, but you have to sniff it. It's, you know, it's an essential part of that sensation that you get coming through from being a crafter. And if you don't sniff, you're missing out. It's good to sniff and see what it tells you so much about the product. So, let me cover off quick news beats. The first thing I want to talk about is CALs. And basically, confession, I have been overly ambitious in the number of CALs that I think that I can run this year. So what I'm going to do is drop the vintage along, and I'm going to run that in 2019 instead. The summer top CAL was already meant to be started, I think, and I've just got too much else on my plate at the moment. So what I'm proposing is that the summer top CAL will start on Friday the 1st of June, which is when the next podcast is due. So we'll have like a triumphant podcast day and start of the summer top CAL. But what I would say is, don't be put off. If you're going into your autumn winter, then, you know, it's a top CAL. I'm only calling it the summer top CAL because most of my listeners and viewers actually come from the Northern Hemisphere. So it will be called the summer top CAL, but if you're doing your biggest wooliest jumper, I don't care. Come on out and be part of it. I don't care if you are weaving, knitting, crocheting it. It's about people crafting together and showing off their techniques and what it is that they're working with and working on. So that's going to start on the 1st of June and it's going to run until the 13th of July. So you've got about 6 weeks to get your tops done and dusted. So start looking now. My Instagram feed is starting to fill up with people that are looking at summer tops to do. So there's quite a bit of inspiration out there already. I'll pop all of the details up on Ravelry, and as ever when the CAL starts there will be a kind of a flyer for it on Instagram as well, and there will be prizes and you can double dip. Oh yeah, and if you've already got a top that you've started but haven't finished, put it in for the CAL. I'd much rather you finished off an object than started a new one and then had a lingering whip in the corner somewhere receiving no love. I don't care. I just want people to be crafting. So yeah, I was overly ambitious. I apologise. I will try harder. But yeah, that will be our next CAL. I was also overly ambitious, although it wasn't my fault. The global hookup was meant to happen on the Saturday that I was in Wales, and I had emailed the accommodation ahead and said, how good is your Wi-Fi? This is what I need to be doing on the Saturday night. And she'd come back and said, our Wi-Fi is great. we've got our own unit and it's brilliant. And then I just couldn't get onto the Wi-Fi at all, so I couldn't access Zoom to be able to run the session, couldn't get in touch with anybody to get somebody else to run it, and the best I could do was get a story up on Instagram and say, guys, I'm struggling to get in, I will run it in a week's time instead. Yeah, so the next global hookup will be on Saturday the 5th of May. I'm going to do it as an 8 p.m. and for roughly about an hour and a half, and that's 8 p.m. GMT. So please do come and join me, and apologies if you are waiting to get into the other global hookup. I was literally stood there pressing refresh, coming out, redoing the settings to try and get into the Wi-Fi, and it just wasn't working on that or my phone. And Deb and Rebecca and Jeff were struggling to get into the Wi-Fi as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things out of my control. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have gone ahead with it on that Saturday, and it's something that I know I can do from here, from my house. So it might be that the days change every now and then. But yeah, so Saturday night, 8 p.m. GMT, next global hookup. And one final one for quick news beats is that where we are in Europe, it is the time of year when daffodils are dying over. So if you're interested in natural dyeing, you need to get out there and pick all the daffodil heads before your local council or municipalities go and mow them down, which is what happens to us here. So I've been collecting a few, and what I do is just deadhead them and then dry them out. And when I tried natural dyeing with daffodils last year, I got a really gorgeous mustardy ochre yellow colour out of them. And what you need, if you're going to give it a go, is double the weight of dead daffodil heads only, to the weight of wool or yarn that you want to dye. So I have got just 10 grams here, and I used 20 grams of daffodil heads to do that. If you want a more subtle colour, then try doing a 50-50 ratio, because that will work for you as well. It will still dye, you just won't get such a dark colour with it. And all I'm going to do is go and pick lots and lots of daffodil heads, dry them out, leave them until I'm ready to use them, and then I will simply soak those daffodil heads for a couple of days and then use that water as the dye bath once I have boiled it up. Take the daffodils out and use an alum mordant, and that will be how I dye the next batch of yellow wool, which I've got some teas water which I'm thinking about dyeing up, because I think it will really take the dye nicely, and it's already got quite a nice yellowy creaminess to it, so I think it will lend itself to daffodil dyeing. But if you've got any flowers that are going over, I do believe that blue primroses can give off a particularly lovely colour as well. So just go around picking up all the dead heads, which is good for your flowers anyway, and see what you can dye up with them. But daffodils definitely want to try and get hold of now before they get trimmed down and have gone. I know somebody also from my Spinners, Weavers, Dyers Guild who has actually been just taking the flowers and freezing them. So she's just got, I think, quite a lot of them in her freezer ready to go. And I know quite a few other people have been doing that. And she's got lots of different types of daffodils, so she might get stronger yellow. She's actually going to dye it straight onto fleece, and then she will manage the fleece after that. So I'll be intrigued to see what she comes back with, and if she brings it to one of the meetings, then I will try and take a photo and I'll show you how that worked compared to my own daffodil dyeing, which I love, and I definitely want more of this colour if I can recreate it. So that's it for quick news beats. I don't have any big ups because I still haven't caught up with any of the new podcasts, but I will do ready for next month. So that just leaves me with J'adore. And the things I have been loving this month: Sheepy Wool Festivals, you know, having just been at Edinburgh, which I really enjoyed, and then and Unravel, and then going to Wonderwall, my heart is most definitely where you can walk around talking to vendors that have got the time to talk to you, and you can hear sheep baaing in the distance, and you can smell them. You can definitely smell them at Wonderwall. But that is definitely my kind of festival. I just love it. It just means so much more to me that the livestock are there, and yeah, if you're looking for the next one that's like that in the UK, then look towards Woolfest, which is up in Cumbria over by Cockermouth, and that is in June. So if you've not been to a sheepy festival and you're looking for one, that's your next best opportunity to get to one. I really like that one as well, but my heart is with Wonderwall Wales. That's my favourite one throughout the year, and the one that I look forward to the most. Other things that I am loving, when I was on my way back, oh God, I haven't even told you about the van. Yeah, I'll tell you about that as well. On my way back from Wonderwall Wales in the van, I had the biggest van. Like, I'm a very confident driver. You know, you put me in a Luton van, that's fine, I'll drive a Luton van. Put me in a minibus, I'll drive a minibus. But I'd ordered in a short wheelbase van because I didn't need anything bigger than that. And frankly, anything bigger means that I'm just paying more diesel than I need. And they had delivered me a long wheelbase van. No issue. So I'm driving this back along the Welsh country roads on Sunday night. I left the venue having packed up at about 7:30. Didn't get home till 10. But what that means is that I was picking up all of the kind of Sunday night dance radio stations, and lots of them were playing 90s hits from like when I was growing up, when I was a teenager. So there's me in my silver massive van dancing away to myself to like Hadaway, What Is Love, Rhythm of the Night, Corona. I had a ball. It was like I was 16 again, driving the first few years when I was allowed to get my dad's car occasionally. I absolutely loved it. I had it on full blast. There was the most amazing sunset when I just crossed over into Shropshire from Wales and going along the Minns, basically. It was absolutely beautiful. I'll see if I can add a photo in. Bright pink sky. It was gorgeous, with Hadaway playing. I just loved it. It was so much fun. What I didn't love though, although I have a newfound love of bobcats, was on the way to the venue on the Friday. So, you know, big rush to try and get there, have as much setup time as possible. Unfortunately, the main road there was closed to a massive traffic incident. It was a 3-car pile-up. I'm hoping that the people were okay, but the road had been closed for many hours. I managed to turn the van around in a farm turning and did a loop round the back road. But the road that I took, there were some gentlemen working on the side, one of them with the little bobcat digger thing, and the other guy had his 4x4 and a trailer part way on the road. And as I've said, my van was massive. And I wound down the window initially to say, look, there's been an accident. I don't know if you know, you might have a lot of cars coming up and down this road. And he said it'd been like that since 8:30. And I said, any chance you can move your vehicle over? Because I don't think I can get round you. I'm going to have to go up and into the verge, and it looks really boggy and I'm going to get stuck. And he said, you'll be all right. Vans have been driving up and down it all morning. I was like, I don't think I will, but whatever you tell me, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I wasn't fine. I got stuck in the ditch, and I basically got out, looked at him and said, can you get me out, please? He just looked at me and I was like, well, you said I would be okay and I'm not, so can you please get my van out? And he couldn't get it out. And the guy that had this little bobcat digger thing basically saw what was happening, came crawling up the road. It's on caterpillar tracks, this little thing, like up towards the back of the van, beeped the horn to let his mate know that he was going to nudge it out. This stupid little beep beep. I mean, it looks like the most pathetic little bit of machinery, but it has got so much torque. And he basically used the digger bit, which has got all of the torque, to push the van out of the verge. And I'm stood there with a massive line of traffic behind me in a hire van that I haven't paid the excess on because I was being tight. So my insurance excess would have been £1,000 had something gone wrong instead of 200. And I'm stood in the middle of the road going, please don't ruin the van, please don't ruin the van, please don't ruin the van. And then there's this meep meep. And the bobcat nudged the van right out the way and off I went. But I was cacking myself that he was going to completely do in the bumper on the van, but it was fine. Total mayhem going down all those side roads with oncoming traffic in a long wheelbase van, but I'll take that up with the van hire company next time I hire for them. They'll have to give me what I want because I just don't want to go through that again. So one of the things I do totally love this month is bobcats. If you're ever stuck, just hope that there's a little bobcat digger somewhere to meep meep and nudge you out of the ditch. I've never been so pleased to get stuck with like two guys working to the side of the road. It was just yeah. I mean, it was their fault I was stuck, but equally I was pleased that they were willing enough to help me and get the frickin' van out of the ditch. I'd just visions of me being sat there for hours and then being hours behind at Wonderwall. But yeah, it was all done and dusted and sorted. Meep meep. Love a bobcat. Right, I think that's it. I have no idea how long this podcast has been. I don't think it's been very long because I haven't got that much stuff to share with you. Or maybe I have. Maybe it's like my standard scenario. So that was it. All the dubs. Wool, Wonderwool wheels, wonderful people, and totally winging it on this podcast. Love to you all. See you in a month. Bye bye. Thank you. Less been going. Still quite a bit, but definitely less. Are we ready? Never mind. Off. No, off. Don't ring at me. Someone. That's better. Now you see all of my fizzle, you lucky, lucky people. 39, 38. Emmy Warner. 50. Caroline! Awesome! Right, come on. Get on with it. Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Crochet Circle podcast. This was one that don't have time for this. Get on with it.